So I don't know if this is true or not. This is the only fictional story or one I can't prove is true or not in my whole repertoire, but this is actually an interesting story because it shows the difference between operating from a place of scarcity versus operating a place of abundance, and our power to do good if we choose to. So a man heads to the airport, which a lot of us are headed to the airport right now. Man heads to the airport, and he has his briefcase, he stops into a little bodega, and he buys a box of cookies and a newspaper. He goes over and finds an empty chair. He's got some time to wait before his plane, so he opens up his paper and starts to read. A few minutes later, a woman also has a paper and sits down with an empty seat in between them, sits down at the third seat, and she starts reading her paper. And a few minutes later, the guy looks down, and there's a hand reaching over into the box of cookies to take a cookie. And he looks out of the corner of his eyes like, are you kidding me? And so he kind of fluffs his paper, and he reaches over and looks at her as if to say, you know, I think I'll have one of my cookies too. So he takes a cookie and puts it in his mouth. A few minutes later, he sees the hand reach over again to take another cookie. And so he takes another cookie to for dad. And this happens until there's one cookie left. And he looks down at the one cookie, and he looks over at the woman, and she nods as if, go ahead, you take it. And he's like, of course I'm going to take the cookie. Gets up and leaves, gets on the plane. He's putting his briefcase and his coat above his seat on the plane, and he reaches up, and he finds his box of cookies. So our ability to do good, he passed up the opportunity to do good by assuming that they were his cookies, and he was resentful that she was taking some of them without even asking. But in reality, they were her cookies, and she was very open and amenable to him eating her cookies, even the last one. I'm telling you, we get a choice like this every day in our lives. And if we understand our ability to do good, we won't let these opportunities pass us by so much. This last one is the hardest one for me. I went to high school with a girl named Beth. And Beth, a year older than me. And when she was in her 30s, somewhere in her 30s, she had a couple kids. And when she was in her 30s, she was diagnosed with MS. Really bad case of MS, to the point where she was confined to a wheelchair before she was 40. And not just a wheelchair, but a wheelchair where it had to have neck stabilizers and stuff. And I saw her every once in a while at church or at the store, or the kids at a kid's baseball game or something. And then after our kids got older, I didn't really see her that much around town. But a couple months ago, I pulled up to the grocery store, and I'm walking from the parking lot into the store, and I see in the distance by the front door of the grocery store a woman in a wheelchair. And I can't tell who it is because I'm not close enough. But once I get closer, I realize that it's Beth. And I'm truly embarrassed to tell you that the thought that went through my head was, I don't want to talk to her right now. I don't know why. I'm really embarrassed to tell you that, but it happened. I mean, to the point where I started to determine my course to look around her and sort of look the other way and walk a circle around her. And I don't know if she saw me or not. She was in her wheelchair, and her head was kind of like this. But I was deliberately trying to avoid talking to her. No explanation. Got into the store, I grabbed my card, and I felt terrible about myself. I felt, like, how could I do that? I'm better than that. How could I let that happen? If life gives me an opportunity to, replay that again, I am going to make a different decision. And of course, life gave me the opportunity just a couple minutes later, because when I turned around, there was Beth and her husband just behind me. And I walked over and said, "Hey Al, hey Beth." Gave Beth a hug, leaned down in the wheelchair, talked to Al. They have 2 kids and 7 grandkids. I'm about to have my first grandkids, and blah, 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 church, and this and that. 10 minutes of my life. And I walked away, and we said goodbye, and I walked away, and I felt a whole lot better about myself. Stop. I feel bad about myself. I feel good about myself. I'm so stuck in myself. I never once thought about how she felt sitting in a wheelchair. I don't know what's it like. Is it embarrassing to see people walk by and see you in a wheelchair? Do people avoid talking to them all the time? I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be in a wheelchair. But all I could think about was how I felt. So a couple aisles later, I see Beth and Al again in another aisle, and just say hey again, and I'm about to walk out the end of the aisle, and Beth hollers out, hey Mark. I said, yeah, what? She goes, thanks for stopping to talk. It meant a lot. The weight of my words, doesn't matter who I am, I'm not important, but the weight of my words, being able to talk for 10 minutes to somebody, to the point where when's the last time somebody thanked you for talking to them? Don't think about that. Those opportunities present themselves in our lives every single day. To conclude, Andy Stanley who's a great speaker. If you have never heard of him, YouTube him. He's a really good speaker. And he says the value of a life is always measured by how much is given away. We don't celebrate accumulation. We celebrate generosity and selflessness. The value of a life is always measured by how much is given away. I mean, think about it. Think about a funeral. At your funeral, Andy, they don't talk about what a great car you had or a big bank account. They talk about what you did. Who was Andy? What did he do? What did he stand for? What did he mean? What was important to him? Unfortunately, we don't spend enough time thinking about that. We don't spend enough time developing relationships with people where we're giving what we can away, where we're understanding our ability to do good. And I guess as I leave you with the 3 points today, that relationships matter, that connecting is a basic human need, and that we underestimate our ability to do good. I would just ask you to think about this on your way home tonight, or the next time you have a chance to make a difference. What do relationships look like in your life? How do they show up? And how much are you giving away?